Imagine going to bed completely broke, not just low on cash, not just waiting for payday. Broke in the way that keeps your chest tight at 2 a.m. Broke in the way that makes you flinch every time your phone lights up. Your checking account has $17.43. Rent is due in 4 days. Your credit cards are maxed out. You ignore another phone call because you already know it's another debt collector. You've gotten good at recognizing the area codes now. You tell yourself, tomorrow will be different. But deep down, you don't believe it anymore. You've said that sentence so many times it's lost its shape. It's just noise now, a reflex. Something your brain whispers so you can fall asleep without screaming. You lie there in the dark running the same math you always run. $17, 4 days? Rent is $800. The gap between those numbers feels like a canyon. You fall asleep wondering how your life ended up here. Then, your phone vibrates. 7:02 a.m. Half asleep, you reach over and check the notification. Your eyes are barely open. Your brain is still somewhere between a dream and the ceiling. Bank deposit received. You laugh. A short, tired, almost bitter laugh. Probably another scam email. Probably some phishing notification designed to look real. You've seen them before. Until you open your banking app. Balance $1,017.43. You stare at it. $1 billion. You blink, refresh. Still there. Refresh again. Still there. You sit up. Your feet hit the floor. You're suddenly very, very awake. Your entire life just changed. Or did it? Nobody believes things like this. Not really. Not at 7 a.m. with sleep still in their eyes and yesterday's anxiety still sitting on their chest. Your first thought isn't joy. Your first thought is, this is wrong. You assume someone made a mistake. Maybe the bank app glitched. Maybe it's a display error. Maybe it's fake. You log into your computer. Same balance. Different browser. Same balance. You clear the cache, reload the page, try a different device. Same balance. The number just sits there. Patient, enormous, indifferent to your disbelief. So you do the only thing that makes sense. You call customer service. You're on hold for 4 minutes. 4 minutes that feel like 4 hours. You're pacing your apartment in socks. Phone pressed against your ear so hard it hurts. The representative verifies your identity. Date of birth. Last 4 digits. Security question. And then she reads the balance back to you. Current available balance is $1,017.43. Silence. Complete, total silence. You don't know what to say. You open your mouth and nothing comes out. She asks if everything's okay. You hang up. You don't even say goodbye. You just press the red button and sit down on the edge of your bed and stare at the wall. Your heart is beating harder than it ever has. And here's the thing. This isn't excitement. Not yet. It's fear. Because nobody accidentally receives $1 billion. The financial system doesn't work that way. Numbers this large don't wander into random checking accounts. They move with purpose, with authorization, with paper trails and legal frameworks and signatures. Which means one of two things. Either someone made a catastrophic, career-ending error, or someone meant to send this to you specifically. And either way, someone is going to take it back, so you don't spend a penny, not on breakfast, not on coffee, not on the $17.43 worth of groceries you actually need. You just sit there, watching the number, waiting for it to disappear. Hours pass. The money is still there. You skip breakfast. You can't eat. Your stomach is doing something that isn't hunger and isn't nausea. It's something in between, something your body has never felt before. You spend the next 6 hours researching. You go deep. Forums, legal databases, financial news archives, Reddit threads from people who received accidental deposits. You read every single one. Can the bank reverse it? Technically, yes, in most cases. But cases this large are different. Cases this large involve lawyers and regulators and time. Can someone sue you? Possibly. Depends on the source, depends on whether you spent any of it. Can you go to jail? If you knowingly spend money you know isn't yours. In some jurisdictions, yes. Conversion of funds. Unjust enrichment. The law has phrases for this, but then you find something interesting. Money this large doesn't usually move by accident. The kind of transfer that lands $1 billion in a single account requires multiple layers of authorization. It requires routing numbers and Swift codes and compliance checks and sometimes government clearance. This isn't someone accidentally adding a zero. This is a deliberate, structured, verified transfer. Law firms do this. Governments do this. Investment funds do this. Ultra high net worth families do this. Somebody authorized this transfer, but who? You check the deposit details again. No name, no memo, nothing. Just the number. Just that enormous, impossible number sitting in your account like it owns the place. You close your laptop around 4 p.m., you stand at your window and look out at the street below. People walking dogs, a kid on a bicycle, a woman waiting for a bus. The whole world just going about its Tuesday like nothing happened. And for the first time in your life, you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to do the math tonight. You don't have to rehearse what you'll say to the landlord. You don't have to decide between groceries and the electric bill. Yet somehow, you've never been more anxious. That's the thing nobody tells you. Financial stress is familiar. You know its shape. You know how to survive it. This is something else entirely. This is the anxiety of the unknown. The anxiety of suddenly having everything to lose. Your first instinct? Buy everything. It hits you around day 2. The fog of disbelief starts to lift, and underneath it is this wave. This enormous, intoxicating wave. A mansion, a Lamborghini, private jets, luxury watches, designer clothes. Every fantasy you've ever scrolled past at midnight and told yourself someday. You actually open real estate listings. You look at penthouses in Manhattan, villas in the south of France, compounds in Malibu. You look at car configurators, you look at private aviation charter rates. And for about 20 minutes, it feels incredible. Then you remember something. Most lottery winners lose everything. Not some. Most. Studies put the number at somewhere between 70 and 90% of people who receive sudden large windfalls returning to their previous financial state within a few years. Why? Because they upgraded their lifestyle before they upgraded their mindset. They bought the mansion before they understood property taxes and maintenance costs and staffing. They bought the cars before they understood insurance and depreciation. They gave money to everyone who asked before they understood that generosity without structure is just a faster way to go broke. Money doesn't fix financial habits. It magnifies them. If you were impulsive before, $1 billion makes you catastrophically impulsive. If you were anxious before, $1 billion gives your anxiety a much larger stage. If you had no framework for thinking about wealth before, suddenly having extreme wealth doesn't give you one. It just turns up the volume on everything you already were. You close the real estate listings, you make a decision. For 1 month, you won't buy anything expensive. Not a car, not a house, not a watch, not a first-class flight. Not because you can't, because you're smart enough to know that the version of you sitting in this apartment right now is not equipped to make billion-dollar decisions. Because you're learning who you are before money changes you forever. That month will be the most important month of your life. You haven't told a single person. You haven't posted anything. You haven't changed your profile picture. You haven't moved. You're still in the same apartment, eating the same food, wearing the same clothes. And yet, something changes. Banks begin calling. Not your regular bank. The private wealth divisions. The ones that don't advertise. The ones with managing directors who fly to meet clients instead of asking them to come in. Investment firms reach out. Luxury real estate agents somehow have your email. Family offices, which are essentially private financial management companies for the ultra-wealthy, begin making introductions. You haven't said a word, but money at this level has its own gravity. It bends things toward it. Then the personal calls start. Friends text, hey, long time. People you haven't heard from in 2, 3, 4 years. People you thought had forgotten you existed. Suddenly remembering. Suddenly warm. Suddenly very interested in catching up. Relatives you haven't heard from in years suddenly remember your birthday. An uncle you met once at a funeral wants to have lunch. A cousin you barely know has a business idea they've been sitting on, and they think you'd be the perfect partner. Business ideas appear from everywhere. Investment opportunities. Crypto projects with guaranteed returns. Restaurant concepts, film deals, tech startups, real estate developments. Everybody has the perfect opportunity. And they all need your money. You sit with this for a while. Because some of these people genuinely care about you. Some of them are just excited and don't realize how they're coming across. But some of them are operating with a very specific calculation. They've identified a resource. and they're moving toward it, you realize something. People aren't treating you differently because you changed. They're treating you differently because they think your money belongs to them. That realization is one of the loneliest feelings a person can have. And it's one of the most clarifying because it shows you very quickly who was actually there before the number changed. Instead of spending, you build. Not impulsively, not emotionally, deliberately, architecturally. The way you'd build something meant to last 100 years. The first people you hire aren't drivers or chefs or personal shoppers. You hire attorneys, not one, several estate attorneys, tax attorneys, contract attorneys, people who understand the legal architecture of extreme wealth. You hire tax specialists, because at this level, tax exposure is not a footnote. It's a central strategic challenge. The difference between good planning and poor planning at this scale isn't thousands of dollars. It's tens of millions. You hire security experts. Because wealth at this level changes your physical reality, your personal security, your digital security, your family's safety. These are no longer abstract concerns. You hire financial advisors, not people who promise to make you richer, people whose entire job is making sure you stay rich. There is a profound difference between those two things. Then you begin structuring. You create trusts, different types for different purposes. Structures that protect assets, reduce certain tax exposures, and ensure that wealth can be transferred across generations without being dismantled in the process. You diversify, not just across stocks, across asset classes, across geographies, across currencies, across time horizons. Because one of the first things serious wealth managers will tell you is that concentration is how fortunes are built, but diversification is how they're preserved. You're no longer in the building phase. You're in the preservation phase. You think carefully about liquidity, because $1 billion sounds infinite until you understand that most serious wealth is not sitting in cash. It's deployed, it's working. It's tied up in assets that take time and process to convert. Maintaining enough liquid capital to handle real-world needs without constantly liquidating positions is its own discipline. You invest in productive assets, businesses that generate cash flow, infrastructure projects, technology companies building things that matter, real estate that produces income, not just appreciation, companies solving real problems in energy, healthcare, food, water. You think about the hedonic treadmill. Psychologists have a name for the phenomenon where humans rapidly adapt to improved circumstances and return to a baseline level of satisfaction. You buy the thing you wanted. You feel the rush. And then, faster than you expect, it becomes normal. And you want the next thing. And the next. And the treadmill never stops moving unless you decide to step off. You decide to step off before you ever get on. Then, you quietly begin giving. Scholarships for students who remind you of yourself 5 years ago. Medical research funding for diseases that took people you loved. Affordable housing initiatives in cities where people are being pushed out. Clean water projects in places where that sentence means the difference between life and death. Anonymous donations. No cameras, no press releases, no interviews, no social media announcements. Because generosity isn't performance. Real generosity doesn't need an audience. Real generosity is what you do when no one is watching and no one will ever know. Months later, you finally let yourself live. You buy the dream house, the one you used to look at online at midnight. You walk through it on a Tuesday afternoon and the light comes through the windows exactly the way you imagined it would. You buy the dream car. You drive it on an empty road early one morning and it's everything you thought it would be. You travel. Really travel. Not rushing, not budget hotels, not calculating whether you can afford the restaurant with the view. You go everywhere you ever circled on a map and said someday. You eat in restaurants you never imagined. You stay in places that feel like they were designed specifically for the version of you that exists now. And it's extraordinary. All of it. Genuinely, completely extraordinary. For a while. And then something strange happens. After a while, it becomes normal. Not disappointing, not bad. Just normal. The mansion becomes just your house. The place where you leave your keys and forget to buy milk. The supercar? Just transportation. The thing you take to get somewhere else. First-class flights. Just another seat. A comfortable one, but still just a seat on a plane going somewhere. Happiness resets. Exactly like psychologists predicted. Exactly like the research said it would. Exactly like every philosopher from Marcus Aurelius to modern behavioral economists has been trying to tell us for centuries. You realize something almost nobody understands. Money changes your circumstances much faster than it changes your mind. Your circumstances transformed overnight. Your mind is still catching up. Your mind still carries the anxiety of the person who had $17.43. Your mind still flinches at certain memories. Your mind still has to be trained, slowly, deliberately, to inhabit this new reality. And the peace you were looking for? The deep, settled, unshakable peace? It was never hiding inside your bank account. It was hiding inside your relationship with money, inside your relationship with enough, inside your ability to sit still without needing the next thing to confirm that you're okay. That's the work. And that work costs nothing. And that work is available to everyone, right now, regardless of the number in their account. 1 year later, someone asks you the question everyone asks billionaires: has money made you happy? You smile, not because the answer is simple, because you've finally thought about it long enough to answer honestly. Money solved problems, real, crushing, daily problems that millions of people face and that nobody should romanticize. Financial stress is not character building, it's just stress. And removing it matters. Money bought freedom. The freedom to say no to things that drain you. The freedom to say yes to things that light you up. The freedom to choose how you spend your hours, which is really the freedom to choose how you spend your life. Money bought time. More time with people you love. More time on work that means something. More time to think, to rest, to be present in a way that poverty makes almost impossible. Money bought security. For you. For your family. For people you'll never meet who benefited from what you quietly gave. Money bought opportunity. The ability to build things, fund things, change things. The ability to make bets on ideas and people and futures that you believe in. It removed a category of suffering that millions of people carry every single day. But happiness? That still came from purpose. From relationships that were real before the money and remained real after it. From health, which no amount of money can fully buy back once it's gone. From building something meaningful. From waking up with a reason that has nothing to do with a balance. Because being broke teaches you what money can fix. Being a billionaire teaches you what it can't. And the distance between those two lessons is where most people spend their entire lives. A quick note, this video is educational and illustrative storytelling. Nothing here is financial, legal, or tax advice. For decisions of any real financial significance, please work with qualified professionals who understand your specific situation. So if you woke up tomorrow with $1 billion, the real question isn't, what would you buy? It's, who would you become? Would you become someone defined by what they have? Or someone defined by what they build? Would you become someone consumed by fear of losing it? Or someone liberated by the understanding that it was never really the point? Would you finally become the person you always suspected you could be? Or would you just become a more expensive version of who you already are? That question doesn't require $1 billion to answer. It just requires honesty. And you can start that right now. If this story made you think differently about wealth, subscribe. Every week we explore the decisions, the psychology, and the future scenarios that shape money, success, and the world ahead. The next one might change how you see everything.